So on behalf of all the federal law enforcement agencies that we're working with and those that have yet to join the team, we thought it was only appropriate to present you with an honorary United States Marshal Service badge. And this badge comes with this little item right here, which is a handcuff key, Mr. President, because you continue through your policies and your efforts with your staff to unhandcuff law enforcement officers all over this nation. And I can tell you personally that they thank you for that.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
You can continue unhandcuffing law enforcement.
That's a very great honor. I'll save that and put it someplace up, which is important. Thank you very much, Gary. I appreciate it. We have something coming up, favored nations, where I'm going to be reducing drug prices by 1,500%.
All right, folks, so we're continuing our coverage of Donald Trump's disastrous Oval Office press conference this morning, and we've noted the authoritarian elements, but we also need to pay close attention to Trump's physical and mental health, because his mental decline and physical decline, quite frankly, were on full display during this press conference, even as he actively tried to conceal it, and I'll explain in just a second. But his obvious mental impairment, talking about reducing the cost of drugs by 1,500%, which is not mathematically possible unless drug companies are going to pay users hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of money. Guys, we have to talk about this because Trump is the sitting president. And this comes as there's increasing scrutiny on Trump's physical and mental health, given the visible bruises that he has on his hands and elsewhere. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we got several clips here of Trump just really screwing everything up during this press conference. But to provide some context, I want to remind you, again, the scrutiny is increasing on Trump. He's the oldest president at this point in his presidency. He was the oldest president to be inaugurated, even older than Biden was at this point in his presidency, okay? And he's never been a beacon of mental and physical health. And he's been seen with visibly swollen extremities, particularly his ankles, and bruising all over his hands. And he's actively trying to conceal it, not just with makeup, but by putting his other hand over the bruised hand. And he's screwing up. He can't answer questions coherently. He can't remember names and places. It's just one screw up after another. Okay, so that's what's kind of providing the context for this. So we're going to go back to the clip in which he's talking about his most favored nation's policy. It's going to reduce drug costs, he says. And I want you to listen to, again, to some of the figures that he quotes.
Where a pill that sells in Germany for $10 costs $150 here because of the bad price. And I was all set to do it, and then we had the COVID come up, and I had to focus on that because we had the greatest economy in history in my first term. I will tell you that we are going to be doing numbers on the cost of drugs in this country that I'm not talking about a 20% decrease, which would be great. I'm talking about 1,000% decrease. We're talking about,
This is not possible. The only thing you can decrease, the maximum you could decrease a drug by is 100%, because you would take the price to zero. It'd be free. 1,000%, they'd be paying you hundreds of dollars. They'd be paying every individual user of that particular drug hundreds of dollars, if not more, to take the drug. There's no fucking way that's going to happen, but he just doesn't understand. This is supposed to be the business guy. It's supposed to be the genius, okay? I also mentioned the hand thing, okay? Take careful note while you listen to his unhinged shit. Listen to the unhinged stuff, but also note how he's actually trying to hide the bruises on his hand and the makeup underneath the hand.
of illegal firearms. There have been 0 murders. It sounds sort of terrible to say. It's embarrassing. I did this over the weekend. I'm making a speech, and I acted like I was so proud as I said, we've had 0 murders in the last week. And some of these people were from foreign countries. They said, that doesn't sound so good. And I said, well, it doesn't sound good, but Washington was the most dangerous place in this country. And now, you know what? It's probably the safest place in our country. Everyone's starting to come here.
What's he talking about? What's he talking about? So first, again, he didn't give a speech over the weekend. And now he's saying Washington, D.C. is the safest place in the country, safest place on earth. And by the way, there were stretches before Trump imposed effectively martial law in Washington, D.C., where there were no murders for more than a week. So this idea that it's unprecedented in Washington, D.C., and it's a consequence of his crackdown is just categorically absurd, to say nothing of the fact that he can't recall what's going on the previous weekend.
Career professionals out of the country already. They've been taken out of the country, and some are in solid confinement because these were killers. We arrested some very bad people.
I think he meant solitary confinement. Solid confinement. I think they're all probably every prisoner is in solid confinement, in that there are walls and bars and solid substances which prevent them from escaping or just leaving, right? Solitary confinement is what he's talking about. But again, I can't get through a fucking sentence without screwing something up pretty spectacularly. Here's another clip.
Africa, they like to say, oh, you know, I love black people. And I did great with the vote with the black people. But they say he's a racist. I said, really? For 35 years, a war raged between Rwanda and the Republic of the Congo. And it was a vicious war. 9 million people were killed with machetes, largely. Hatchets, machetes. That went on for more than 30 years, but 34, 35 years.
So Trump just randomly talking about how he loves black people. That just doesn't sound like what a mentally secure, mentally stable person. I love black people. Are you Mexican? I love Mexican. Are you Chinese? I love Chinese Americans. Who does that? That's kind of weird. And yes, he did better with African Americans than previous Republican presidents, but he still lost them by an overwhelming margin. There's no filter between his brain and his mouth. And as his brain corrodes in real time, his mouth spews the most unhinged non sequiturs. Okay. It's not just that, though. It's also the fact that he is screwing up people's names, right? Imagine Joe Biden, right? President Biden screwed up names. Imagine this were Biden, and imagine what the media response would be.
Everybody standing there knows, we know, you don't have to be doing any studies. They should be saying, please come in. Pritzker should be saying that. You know, I did a favor for Christy Whitmer. A good favor, I think, with the fish, the carp, the China carp. Did you ever hear of it? China carp. And it's taken over your Great Lakes. You know about that, right? And how bad it is.
I just shouldn't even have to say anything, but that entire rambling, incoherent sentence or soliloquy really felt like it lasted a hell of a lot longer than a sentence. Not much sense to be made. The specific thing I do want to identify is the fact that he was referring to Gretchen Whitmer, the Democratic governor. And he said it's, what do you say, Christy Whitmer, Christy Whitman?
Whitmer. Christy. I did a favor for Christy Whitmer.
Christy Whitmer. One more time.
For Christy Whitmer.
So you just screwed up everything. It's Gretchen Whitmer, not Christy Whitman. And here's the thing. His DHS secretary, Kristi Noem, former Republican governor, now the DHS secretary, she's standing behind him. And he's thinking of Kristi Noem and trying to say Gretchen Whitmer and screwing it up. And listen, by the standards that Trump and MAGA set, this is almost like, impeachment worthy. This is where you invoke the 25th Amendment, right? And boot this guy out of office. And yet here we are. It's stunning. Now, what makes all of this worse? Again, because we're going this by Trump standards, right? Where he's concealing his hands, he's trying to cover the bruises. There's increasing scrutiny on his physical and mental health. He can't speak substantively or cogently at length on any topic of substance at all. What makes this even more embarrassing is how he is treated by his subordinates, who are clearly too afraid to do anything other than kiss his ass in the most obsequious, humiliating ways. I want to give you two examples, starting with this one.
There's no auto pen that can do that, right? Look at that, Pam. Is that a good signature? Seriously, is that a good signature? Who can write like that? Nobody. I don't know. That's the other thing. I assume we're looking at.
They give him a round of fucking applause for writing his name. Congratulations, Mr. President. You did really well with your signature. It's D-O. Remember, no, sir. No, sir. The hump in the D's got to face the right. Remember, it's not the left. That's backwards. It's DON. Very good, Mr. President. Now, don't, Mr. President. No, don't you eat the Sharpie. You only eat the crayons, and that's for dessert after your meals. You eat your vegetables. You drink your Diet Coke, and you get your cheeseburger from McDonald's. We give you, some broccoli, and then you get to eat one of the crayons. You cannot eat one of the Sharpies, Mr. President. It's embarrassing. That's humiliating. Again, imagine what right-wing media would have done if every time President Biden signed something on television, when he signed a bill into law, right, one of those signing ceremonies, if everyone was like, "That's a really good signature, sir. I'm so proud of you," and pinched his cheek. And I wish that were the end of it, except it's not. Here's one more.
I think I think Gaddy Serralta had something he wanted to give you on behalf of all the law enforcement who are out there every
Mr.
single night.
President, yes, thank you for putting me in charge of this surge. As the director of the United States Marshal Service, it's the oldest law enforcement agency. It was created in 1789. So on behalf of all the federal law enforcement agencies that we're working with and those that have yet to join the team, we thought it was only appropriate to present you with an honorary United States Marshal Service badge. And this badge comes with this little item right here, which is a handcuff key, Mr. President, because you continue through your policies and your efforts with your staff to unhandcuff law enforcement officers all over this nation. And I can tell you personally that they thank you for that.
Thank you. That's
So
beautiful.
you can continue unhandcuffing law enforcement.
That's a very great honor. I'll save that and put it someplace up, which is important. Thank you very much, Gary. I appreciate it.
That might be the single most patronizing encounter between two adults I've ever seen, especially when you consider the fact that Trump is the president. Like, it's embarrassing. Like, he should be embarrassed. If he had any sense of self-awareness, and if his brain wasn't just, again, leaking out of his ears, he would be like, why the fuck are you treating me like I'm a toddler, getting a gold star for not shitting his pants? I'm the president of the United States. Don't you ever patronize. Did you hear the tone of voice that you gave when you spoke to me? I'm the most powerful man. How dare you disrespect? But that's the thing. They have to do this because he's just the worst combination of human foibles that he's dumb. He's in decline. He's physically unhealthy. He's mentally unhealthy. He's a narcissist of the highest order. He's corrupt. He's authoritarian. And when you put all that in a fucking blender and you get this guy, they feel like they've got to do that. So, sir, we got you something shiny, right? And they're dangling car keys in front of his, and he's pawing at it. I don't even know what to say. Like, that's embarrassing. We might even lead with that. Like, I didn't. To the extent that anybody had questions about Biden, fair enough. You should hold Trump to the same standard. And again, the polls are pretty bad for Trump when it comes to his physical and mental health, and actually were during the 2024 election cycle and got worse after Vice President Harris became the nominee. But he is by far the dumbest, most impaired president we have ever seen in this office. And when you combine that with the corruption and the authoritarianism, it's a really bad combination. So there you have it, folks. Yeah. Don't know what to say other than that. Clearly everybody surrounding the president of the United States recognizes that he's a particularly dangerous toddler, and they treat him exactly like one. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.